Hi everybody, welcome back to another lesson in my Czerny's Opus 599 for solo beginners. In this lesson we're going to learn number 13. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so, and if you like what you see, give this video a thumbs up. I also offer online piano lessons. If you're looking for one, there's going to be information below. And if you'd like to get this special edition of Opus 599 for solo learners with enhanced guidance and information, then you can get that on the links below. So number 13 is the third piece in the second chapter, which is staying in a 5-finger position. And it really adds to what we learned in number 11 and number 12. We learned about eighth notes and quarter notes. We learned about legato, staccato. We learned about melody against chords. And now here, the challenges are the following. We have a beautiful legato line, so we have to keep it smooth. We have to lift between the phrases, so we have to separate those sentences and musical ideas. We have 2-note slurs, very short drop slurs, so drop lift. And we have a left-hand accompaniment, which is the same chords found in 11 and 12, but this time it's broken up between the bottom and top 2 notes, where the bottom note needs to be held, so adding an extra level of challenge. Let's start with the first 2 lines, the first section until the repeat sign. Both hands are still in the treble clef and we are in common time 4/4. So let's have a look at the left hand. So I'm going to play through blocked the chords without looking at the actual pattern. In the first bar we have 3 notes C, E, G. So 1, 3, 5, a C chord. The second bar is again a C chord. And the third bar is B, D, G, a G chord, 1, 3, 5. Then we go back to our C chord. Bar 5 is a C chord, bar 6 is a C chord, bar 7 is B, F, G, a G7 chord, and going back to a C chord. It's really important to understand what chords you actually play and to play the 3 notes together so that you get a sense of placement before adding in this pattern. So anytime you play chords, you need rounded hand shape, curved fingers, a very soft, relaxed wrist and hand, and really concentrating that the notes go down together so you don't get anything like this. So how this pattern is going to work, as you can see, we have 2-part writing. We have a whole note, a semibreve in the bottom, which has to be held for 4 counts. But at the top, we have a rest and then 3 quarter notes, 3 crotchets. So the bottom note is going to be held 1, 2, 3, 4, and the top section is 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you could ask, why do we have 8 beats altogether? Well, this is called 2-part writing. So we have 4 beats at the top and 4 beats at the bottom. But because they are played at the same time, it's actually 4 beats, but it almost feels like you have 2 hands in one hand, the top hand and the bottom hand. So we're going to hold down with finger 5 the C, 1, 2, 3, 4. So while we play the top 3 chords, we're still holding down that 5 on the C, and it's really important to hold it down until the end of the bar. You can get into the habit of pushing too hard onto finger 5. You don't need to push too hard, you just need to concentrate to hold it down. So 1, 2, 3, and the last one is a staccato, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, bounce. 1, 2, 3, bounce. 1, 2, 3, bounce. 1, 2, 3, bounce. So understand the chords first, how they change, and then add in the pattern. Also, another thing that can happen, I've seen this quite often, is that you hold on to the last chord connected to the C. Don't do that. Bounce up on that final chord every time. The right hand has a few shorter phrases. So we stay in this 5-finger position, 1 on the C, 5 on the G, and we just follow the intervals, the skips and steps. The slurs connecting the notes have to be very smooth, finger legato, connecting those notes and then lifting up at the end of the slur. Now again, keep your hand rounded, fingers curved, and play with the fingertips for enhanced control of the key attack. If you play with flat fingers, it's going to be much harder to control the sound, and it's also going to lead to sticky fingers and a sore hand. So starting on the 1, down, 1 and 2 and 3, lift. 1 and 2 and 3, lift. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So a very long phrase, and here we have a little bit of rotation going on between the outer fingers. As you can see, we're going back and forth, so you can rotate the arm a little bit, the wrist, to allow that motion to go smoothly. Then we go on to bar 5. 1 and 2 and bounce, bounce. 1 and 2 and bounce, bounce. And here we have these 2-note slurs. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. So 2-note slurs or drop slurs, we don't call them phrases, just very short slurs, and they need to be articulated by lifting up the hand and swapping those finger numbers. So 1, 4, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2. So very quick lifting, so we stay in time. And we have to do always 3, 2, 3, 2. So drop, connect, drop, connect, drop, connect. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. It's really important to make these 2-note slurs very expressive by lifting and connecting the slurred notes and obviously changing the finger numbers. A couple more things. Obviously the rhythm, we didn't talk about that. We have eighth notes and half notes and quarter notes. So when you have the eighth notes, you can either go T, 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 3, 4, or you can go 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and so on. So make sure you count very evenly and you have 2 eighth notes per beat. One last thing to talk about when it comes to the right hand is wrist circles. So wrist circles mean that we kind of follow the melody with the wrist. So when the melody is going up, the wrist is going to move from left to right to accommodate for the rise in the melody. So we have some lateral motion, either moving towards the little finger or back towards the thumb. And this motion called wrist circling is really helping to make the melody sound very natural and very smooth and more artistic. It also takes off unnecessary pressure from the wrist when we try to keep the hand in one place and just playing from the fingers. The entire hand is taking part in this motion, so have a very soft wrist and allow the hand to follow the melody. You can also add some natural dynamics, so when the melody is rising, you get louder, when the melody is falling, you get quieter, and also when you get to the end of a phrase, you're going to round off, so the end of the slur should be gentler. As I approach the end of the phrase, I get a bit quieter to show that it's the end of my phrase, and I lift up between every single slur. Otherwise, the whole thing gets blended into one thing. So hands together. This is where it gets very hard because we don't just hold the chord, we have to hold the bottom note and articulate the top. So 1 and 2 and 3, bounce, lift up, So what we saw here is that the right hand legato is uninterrupted by the left hand chords, staccatos and lifts. You have to keep that right hand connected all the way through when you see the slur, and the left hand is counting for us. 1, 2, 3, bounce. So the fourth beat has to bounce. So once again, downbeat. 1 and 2 and 3, bounce. 1 and 2 and 3, bounce. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, connect. 1 and 2 and hand finger. There we are. So really important to hold down that finger 5 and making sure that the 2 eighth notes or quavers go perfectly together with those chords in the left hand. Make the left hand quieter than the right hand because you want to hear the melody. You want to emphasize the melody, not the chord or accompaniment. So instead of, I heard this many times, especially from beginners, they really push onto those chords very heavily. Don't do that. Try to really keep your hand, your left hand quiet and emphasize that beautiful melody in the right hand. This is the primary goal of balancing and creating dynamics and expression. Let's go on to the second half. So after you repeated the first section, we go into bar 9, left hand chords. Let's just play through. So starting with the G chord, 1, 2, 3, bounce, C, 2, 3, bounce, G, 2, 3, bounce, C, 2, 3, bounce, C, 2, 3, bounce, C, 2, 3, bounce, G7, 2, 3, bounce, C, 2, 3, bounce. Right hand starting 2 on the D. We have again a 2-note slur, 1 and 2 and then we're going to swap the fingers on these repeated notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and connect. That's the first line. So again, 5, 4, 3, 1, 2, swapping the finger numbers on those repeated notes. Bar 13, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, 4, 3, 2. 5, 4, 3, 2, 4. And rounding off. So a lot of very quick repeated notes that has to be practiced in order to be able to play it quickly and lightly and clearly. Hands together. And we got to the end. So I hope I managed to explain all the difficulties in this piece. It's definitely a lot more challenging than number 11 and number 12. So a lot of practice has to go in hand separately as well to really understand the phrasing, the 2-note slurs, the repeated notes, staccato, legato, the 2-part writing of the left hand, and then ultimately putting it together and really watching that those things that you learned hand separately don't disappear when you play hands together.